Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC Method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey guys, it's Debbie Potts, your host of The Whole Athlete, and this is my Thursday edition of my solo podcast, Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts. And today I'm going to continue discussing what metabolically efficient athletes look like, how they train, how they eat, what we should do to become a fat-adapted athlete. And for starters, I want to go back in time of my life and go over when I started metabolic efficiency testing with New Leaf equipment back in about 2005, as I have shared before. And what's fascinating to me is as we kind of reconnect with the definition of metabolic flexibility, metabolic efficiency, and fat adaptation, we were doing this back in 2005. And I did USA Triathlon certification course in 2009 with Bob Seebohor, and he brought more awareness to me of being a low carb athlete without calling it low carb back then, and keto wasn't a thing yet and really known about, as well as now we talk about intermittent fasting and fasted workouts and whatnot. But I've been doing this myself as an endurance athlete, and I was doing Ironmans 2001 to 2012 until I had my fatigue, burnout, and weight gain issues that I'm actually speaking on Jimmy Moore's low carb cruise this week as we talk. And I found that fasted workouts and doing my butter fat coffee and doing UCAN, I was doing all that along with heart rate training, which that was back since 2005 or before with Sally Edwards. But training for Ironmans, I started in 2001, heart rate training. 2004, I started training with Mark Allen and got into the Maffetone heart rate training, really being strict about that, and then metabolic efficiency testing and really knowing my numbers, where I should be training, where I'm burning the most fat, and how to keep improving those numbers. So my anaerobic threshold was higher, my metabolic crossover, where I switched from burning primarily fat to majority of my fuel coming from carbohydrates, that number would improve over time from my training. So now we're doing more metabolic efficiency training with nutrition, as I did Bob Seebohor's metabolic efficiency coaching program back in 2014. And I'm just putting this all together now, as I find I've always been doing this, but finally it's becoming of interest around the world for endurance athletes. I know Australians are really big into metabolic efficiency, low carb, high fat meals and training, fasted, and just all this great science is coming out as well. So I'm really excited to be a part of this journey, and I love this stuff. This is my passion, and I think my purpose, where I should be directing my attention and research to, and writing and sharing information with you, the endurance athlete that's trying to work on performance, but also longevity. And it's really important that health, performance, and longevity all work together, because as I keep saying, what we're doing now, we should be doing training and eating, recovering and repairing the right way, so we can enjoy our later years in life and improve that health for when we're 85 years old. I want to be my father-in-law, who's just in Italy for the whole month with his new girlfriend and traveling around. I mean, I want to be able to do that. So I want you to train now as metabolically efficient athlete and help reduce oxidative stress and the damage we can put on our body by consuming too many sugars, refined sugars, and that high carb diet, when we are challenging our bodies enough doing endurance training, because we really only need 30, 45-minute workout sessions to get the benefit. More is not better, and we're putting a lot of time on the bike and miles running, and if you're just doing cycling or trail running or marathons, we're still putting a lot of stress on our body. And as we know from my story and what I'm speaking about at conferences, is chronic stress is an epidemic, and doing more is not always better. Multitasking throughout the day is just constant work on our brain and our body and our gut. So let's go into metabolic efficiency, review the terms. And it's funny, I'm cleaning out my office because we're putting wood floors in my office and family room and our bedroom this week. And so I had to clean out everything, which is amazing. You should probably do this sometime yourself. If you've lived somewhere for a while, we've been in our house 12 years, and my office has all these books and folders and all the trainings and workshops and certifications I've gone through and textbooks and all this stuff that hasn't moved because I look up everything online nowadays. So anyways, I found my notebook from Bob Seabor's training back in 2014. It's pretty funny. We're talking about all this with Tim Noakes and Maffetone and Ian Adamson. I talked with him years ago from Newton about natural running, but really all about the low carb athlete. And really, low carb athletes means training your body to burn fat for fuel. Metabolic flexibility means you're able to utilize fat for fuel, but you're able to switch back to burn carbohydrates when needed. So you're sparing your carbohydrates. So the definition Bob Seabor uses is a little bit longer, but it's human physiology needs to be well adapted to cope with the major discontinuities in both the supply of and the demand for energy. This adaptability requires a clear capacity to utilize lipid and carbohydrate fuels and to transition between them. Metabolic flexibility has been defined as a, quote, clear capacity to utilize lipid and carbohydrate fuels and to transition between them, quote, in response to changes in the dietary energy intake and circulating substrate concentrations. So the theory of low carb diets for performance as well as longevity we'll get to is based on train low and compete high protocol, in which athletes train on a low carb diet to allow their bodies to adapt to being readily fat burning athletes and able to metabolize, oxidize those fats for energy, which is called metabolic flexibility. So if you train your body to burn fat, you're able to be metabolically flexible to switch to burning more carbohydrates during that race where you're probably training a little bit higher heart rate. But I know when I was racing and working on my metabolic efficiency, I was able to train low heart rate and, as I said, keep racing at an Ironman at those fat burning ranges so I could feel good on the run after biking and being able to go fast and a strong cycling leg and then go into the run and have still energy left to go. And then I could switch over to burning carbohydrates at the end if I need to. But remember, when you are thinking and learning about this, that you say have 40 to 80,000 calories of stored fat for fuel, and our muscle glycogen, liver glycogen storage is limited to, say, about 2,000 calories. So why forever people in the industry were researching how we can maximize and refuel those carbohydrate stores and not even looking at our ability to tap into those fat stores, because obviously 40,000 is a lot more than 20 or 2,000 calories. So it's a big difference. So that crossover concept we can test when you're on a treadmill or bike doing a metabolic cart will help you figure out where you as an individual are burning the most fat and where you switch over to primarily carbohydrates. So we want to train at that intensity or those heart rate ranges where we're burning so-called that fat burning zone. And that you can improve your metabolic efficiency, as we did back when I was testing people starting in 2005, that we were able to improve their metabolic efficiency with exercise. But when you add in the nutrition changes, then we really see differences. So when you add in nutrition, exercise, combined interventions, we really can improve that fat burning machine metabolic efficiency. So think about why we want to burn fat. Not only is 40, 80,000 calories available for fat for fuel, but we want to get off that blood sugar roller coaster. We were trained to eat, people have sugary drinks. I see people drinking Gatorade and having gels and a Cliff Bar that has 45 grams of carbohydrates in them. We're having all these carbohydrates. So even though you are told this, you might not need as many carbohydrates as you're taking. And you might not realize that taking all those carbohydrates and those high carb drink solutions that you have before, during, and after your workouts may be causing your blood sugar to go up high and down low. And keep in mind what happens when your pancreas has to release insulin to bring down that high blood sugar. Well, one, that insulin carries the glucose into our fat cells to be stored away, and that helps bring our blood sugar back to our regular level, homeostasis. But then also we can get that low blood sugar, and then we have that roller coaster going on. And then again, we can have this happen too frequently. Anything chronic causes dysfunction, and the dysfunction here would be leading to insulin resistance. And if you keep doing that, eating that roller coaster blood sugar food plan, insulin resistance can lead to type 2 diabetes. So if we keep having insulin being released, we're inhibiting glucagon, which is opposite, to help break down fat. So we want to have the glucose used for fuel, not stored. And we also want to have lipogenesis, having the ability to burn fat, to break down fat, oxidize fat. So we'll go back to that. But we want to look at metabolic efficiency with nutrition, not just our training. So back in the days when I was going through this course, we were talking about 75% of the changes for metabolic efficiency improvements come from our nutrition. So the insulin inhibits lipolysis, the ability to burn fat. So biochemically, it's shutting off our ability to burn fat, and continuously having that blood sugar roller coaster just leads to trouble. And we want to get off this roller coaster by having more fasting, intermittent fasting, and teaching your body to become fat adapted, switching to a more of a lower carbohydrate diet when you do have your meals, and healthy higher fats and moderate protein. Now, I know some people are doing a high protein diet, and carnivore diets are in right now. And, there's not one diet exactly for everybody. So remember, what I always say is that everybody is different. I keep saying this, but I'll say it again. Your genetics, your ancestral background, where your family's from. I'm Northern European when I look at my 23andMe, and so that's more the food type I would eat. And that's going to be different than someone's from South America. My genetics are totally different than someone else. My gut biome is different. And my history, my chronic stress caused me insulin resistance. So I'm very sensitive to sugars, as well as my genetics through DNA Fit, which is great to do. Upload your 23andMe raw data into DNA Fit and get your own exercise and nutrition report, as well as our new reports you can get on stress. But my body, based on my genes through DNA Fit, also tells me that I do best on a low carbohydrate diet. Now, someone else might be better on a Mediterranean diet or a vegetarian diet. Everybody's different. So when I talk about burning fat, it to me means find what macronutrient ratio of whole nutrient dense foods, no one should be eating the processed fake foods, refined sugars, vegetable oils, and inflammatory foods, but find the right amount of real protein, fat, and carbohydrates that allow you to balance your blood sugar and avoid those insulin surges. By doing so, we should be switching to that fat burning machine, burning those logs instead of kindling. Think of that your car, what gas you put in it, or think of your fire, as I was just saying, kindling versus big fat log to keep the fire burning all day. So we want to write down that we want to have good healthy fats, and our vegetables with lots of fiber is a really essential part, especially for prebiotics for feeding our gut microbiome, because we're hosting that whole city down there in our gut. All those microbes are really important to have that good fiber for them. Okay, so by eating all the time, we're also putting ourselves in that blood sugar roller coaster. So regulating your blood sugar by eating, that time restricted eating window, I think is very important to do. For me, it's really helping. But again, N=1, I'm different. And find what works for you. But I really do believe what Dr. McCullough is talking about is Fat for Fuel in his Keto Feast book. I just finished that as well. Not eating 3 hours before bed, doing a 16-hour fast. I think everyone out there is agreeing on the benefits of that, as well as the intermittent fasting, 16 hours to allow your body to shift to that fat burning metabolism. That will help as well. And then some people are doing a 24-hour fast once a week, and I tend to do that on Wednesdays because I stop eating early on Tuesdays, and then Wednesdays I have a busier day that I don't get home till 4 o'clock anyways, so it ends up being a 24-hour fast. Now, when you're doing that and having your meal, breaking your fast, make sure you're not just eating whatever. And that's why I believe in eating, as Dr. McCullough just wrote about, a low carb, high fat, moderate protein approach, eating your real food to balance your blood sugar, that you're not just going to have Mexican food or having tons of pasta and bread and reloading on those meals in between your fasts. You want to refeed your body. The other part is there's cyclical keto and low carb. I hate using the word keto because I think it scares people. I think you should think of it as low carb, high fat, or fat burning food plan, fat adaptation. We want to have the right healthy fats with the vegetables and proteins that we are full for hours, and you end up losing the appetite. And I'm finding with my fasting I'm doing in the evening to the next day, I'm more satiated when I do eat, and having that leptin resistance being improved, because insulin resistance usually ends up with leptin resistance as well. That ghrelin and leptin are those hunger hormones that make you feel hungry and full and satisfied. So I think that gets improved as well with fasting. But what I was starting to get to is cyclical keto, or fasting during the week with your one big meal a day or 2 meals a day, eating in that 8-hour window. And then on the weekends, just kind of let your rules down, which I think that makes this more realistic to do and allows you to refeed and have perhaps a higher carbohydrate diet. I hate the word diet again, but high fiber, good source vegetables, and maybe you're going to have a little more carbohydrates than you do during the week. So I think it's not a diet, it's a new lifestyle routine that makes it work for you, becoming metabolically efficient so you're burning fat during your workouts and at rest. Okay, so fiber is important, eating that right amount of fat. But why is that? Why do we have that need to eat so many carbohydrates when we're exercising? And as I said in a recent podcast, I think a lot of people refeed when they don't need to after a workout session, because we heard that, I think it's a myth, that we need to eat within 30 minutes. I think, the chocolate milk company sponsored that, or somebody. But eating within 30 minutes after workout, I don't know if that's as accurate as just waiting until you're hungry. Rehydrate, but eat your meal when you're hungry. But I think having that insulin secretion from your pancreas to lower that blood sugar is really what we want to avoid. And we want to get fat metabolism going on. So we want to have this blood sugar roller coaster lower because of the side effects of having a high sugar diet. For performance, a lot of people are coming to me for coaching because they have GI distress. They're having weight gain. They're gaining body fat instead of getting leaner, and they're doing endurance training. It makes no sense, right? If you listen to my recent podcast of why endurance athletes are actually fatter than they should be, I think a lot of it is this: they're doing this high carb food plan, and they're opposite of metabolically efficient. They're gaining fat, they're eating too frequently, their energy levels are high and low because of their blood sugar, and their performance is going to be up and down because they're having these bonking experience in a workout and just having to have more sugars and gels and drink more special beverages are going to bring their energy back up. So because of all that sugar, they're putting themselves at risk for diabetes, insulin resistance, inflammation, cardiovascular disease, cancer, obesity. So if we get our blood sugar more regulated and being metabolically efficient, which is fat adapted athlete, we're decreasing the risk for diseases, for chronic diseases. We want to improve that GI stress. Hopefully you will lose more weight, body fat, and we will end up eating less. You'll be fuller longer and have more steady energy levels. Now, also, I find this really goes with what Karan talked about in our 2 podcasts you must listen to from Megaspore Biotics. He's talking about the microbiome lab expert. Karan is super brilliant about this and performance. And if you really want to work on performance longevity, we want to not only work on what we're eating, how we're eating it, and when we are eating it, but also work on your gut health. And what I do with my clients is most people are taking a Megaspore, a spore-based probiotic. And then if we need to rebuild their gut wall lining, as most all of us have leaky gut of some level, that we add in prebiotics the 2nd month. And then the 3rd month, we do their mucosal layer supplements, a drink mix that you can have to repair that mucosal layer around our gut. So gut repair is essential for performance and longevity. Chronic inflammation is most related to most diseases. So not only changing what we're eating, how we're training, but I really want you to repair your gut along the way here. So listen to those podcasts, and we just had another one out as well about the gut biome. But metabolic efficiency training is really important to improving that GI distress, because we get rid of those sugars and that oxidative stress that we're causing by burning carbohydrates. Losing body weight, I think, is essential to performance. It's less stress on your body. But the GI distress is a big one for a lot of people that are coming to help for me. For coaching, we're working on all this different adaptation phases as well as other elements of the holistic method. But, it's getting off those sugar drinks and having the gels and the bars and every hour. And because think when you take all that, your muscles are working. Your gut is not working. Your blood's into the muscles. So, I used to always get sick when I was racing. I'd throw up on a bike ride and keep going and just kind of hit that reset button, I'd say, and keep going on the bike ride until I found out that I did better not having any of this and just having water. And then I started using UCAN. But, it takes months to develop metabolic efficiency and going on a longer workout without needing calories. So becoming metabolically efficient, you'll reduce the need for calories a lot, like by 30-50%. I can go for a long bike ride, which I just did yesterday. We did 85-mile bike ride. I had some Keon coffee, which is my favorite coffee. It's so much different tasting when it's clean, organic, not toxic-free coffee. And I had some nuts and some water, and that was it. And then on the bike ride, I had a nut butter packet along the way, and I had a Primal Kitchen. I like their macadamia nut bars. I brought that with me. But I don't have anything in my water but sometimes electrolytes or sea salt. So carbohydrate drinks have a lot of sugar in it. So a lot of times I'm having people try S-Fuel or UCAN and find out what works for them. But getting rid of that GI distress is a huge area to improve for athletes. Their digestive system gets turned off. And so many of these athletes are having gut problems, gut issues, and could be running to the bathroom while they're running a race, and having all that glucose, fructose gels is really making a difference. So just think if you can run a race or do a triathlon without having gut issues, well, managing stress and improving your gut strength, your gut biome, and then having your body to be fat adapted so you don't need to take in all these calories. Then you don't have that gut stress, hopefully. So remember, the internal fat stores we have are 30,000 to 50,000 for lean athletes and 80,000 plus for non-athletes. And then their internal carbohydrate stores vary about 2,000 calories. So if we're taking all those gels and sugary bars and drinks before, during those workouts, and then you're eating your meals or lots of fruit, maybe grains, and you might be real food, but it's a high carb based diet, we're really throwing our body into that blood sugar roller coaster. But you can switch this around. And if you can work on changing what you're eating, how you're eating, and when you're eating, you can improve that fullness, reduce cravings, help stabilize that blood sugar, which you'll start to just drop fat weight once you're burning fat for fuel. And one thing I have people do, I can put the link in the show notes, but Keto Mojo is some type of blood sugar testing kit to know what is your blood sugar in the morning, what is it after you eat, and what is it maybe later in the day, early evening. And then you can test for ketones when you want. See, all right, am I starting to break down fat for fuel? And I can measure that by seeing if I have ketones of 0.5 millimoles to 3.0, and just make sure I'm in that fat burning range. But, just during the week, really manipulating that daily diet plan, getting yourself to oxidize fat, having some MCT oil perhaps in your coffee, or, if you need a little brain fuel, just have a spoonful of it. And realizing when you're hungry and when it's maybe just emotional hunger, habits, you're in your car, you're watching TV, you're going for a workout, and you just feel like you should refuel beforehand. There's a lot of habits we have. And also work on when you're eating, focusing on what you're eating and how you're eating it. So sitting down and having a meal, eating slowly, making sure you're doing that as well. So what other questions do you have for me? You can send to me via the website, wpotts.net, and we can go more into metabolic efficiency training. But a lot of it, we're going to start with what you're eating and when you're eating it. So I would try just on your own, stop eating 3 hours before bed and work on that 12-hour overnight fast, build that up to 16 hours, and then that leaves you with 8-hour window for your time-restricted eating. And then you might just need 1 meal to 2 meals. Maybe add some bone broth in there. That's really good for your gut health. I have people have that cup a day when we're doing our 5-day jumpstart challenge, or phase 1 of the 30 days. And then have been doing athletic greens after my workout, or have some other green drinks that add those nutrients in it and get your fiber. So what else do you want to know? Let me know how to become a fat adapted athlete, as I'm putting together information and writing more blogs for a future book on how to become a fat adapted athlete. But really lowering those carbohydrates and getting those good healthy fats. I would do DNA Fit. Take that raw data that you have from Ancestry DNA or 23andMe, and you can upload it and see what it comes out to help with your nutrition and fitness programming. If you need help as a health coach, help interpret those numbers, that information, those genetic SNPs, you can let me know, and we can put that into the whole athlete coaching program. I am doing FDN practitioner work now, and I will be adding lab testing to my services, which is pretty fun and exciting for me, and incorporate that with DNA Fit and nutritional therapy assessment and functional evaluation for people that are local. So I'm putting that all together to create my coaching program online and in person, the WHOLESTIC Method program, to help you become a fat burning machine, improve your health and performance on the inside and out. So send your questions to wpotts.net, website wpotts.net, and Facebook page is the Whole Athlete Podcast. All right, guys, stay tuned. Follow me on social media, as we'll be on the low carb cruise with Jimmy Moore the first week of June, and I will be broadcasting as much as possible and sharing what I'm speaking about as a presenter on how chronic stress affects the whole you, as well as how to become a fat adapted athlete. And there's lots of other amazing presenters there as well. So it should be fun. I'm not a big cruise ship person, but I think it will be a good experience. And when we're at port, I will be out running on the land, as being on a boat for 9 days is a little challenging for me. So if you're in Florida, I will be there running the streets of Miami and towards Orlando. Okay, hope you enjoy the show. Please share it with your friends, and let's help get other endurance athletes learning how to take care of the whole person from the inside out, starting from the gut, and working on reducing chronic stress and mitochondria health and all of that we keep talking about on this show. So learn how to transform the whole athlete from the inside out with the Holistic Method. All right, guys, until next week, enjoy the day.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.